Okay, so number eight. Number 8 is about love and relationships, okay? And, going back to the very first one we talked about, everyone wants to be great. Everyone, right, wants to have meetings, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone also wants to have love in their life, right? And it's so interesting because what I always ask everyone, love is like a common human emotion that every human being knows, right? There's no such thing as a human that doesn't know what love is, but when you ask people, what is the definition of love? No one can give you a definition, right? So maybe you guys have heard the definition, the Aish definition, of Noah Weinberg's definition, because you guys have been around a little bit. Anyone? Yeah, I've heard it? What's the definition of love?
You want the best, to bring out the best in someone.
That could be something that you do when you love someone. But what's the definition of love? If you're going to look it up in Webster's dictionary, it probably won't say this, but if we were going to open up in our dictionary, what would it say?
I don't know.
Yeah.
A feeling of closeness?
So again, that's something that you feel when you have love, right? And it's good, right? But a little bit more. Anyone, any other brave souls?
Friend told me like last week, but I forgot.
Good thing you're here. You get a second chance, which is going to be actually our next one. So Rabbi Mathias would define love as the emotion that a person feels when they focus on the positive traits of another person. Is that what he told you?
Something like that. You want to paraphrase it.
So the emotion that we feel, emotion that a person feels when they focus on the positive traits of another person. Because it's very interesting. The Torah has a mitzvah, v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, right? Love your neighbor as yourself, which the Torah is saying you have to love every other Jew. And by the way, it doesn't mean people that are easy to love, right? You don't need a mitzvah for that. It's those people that are really annoying and you don't think there's any way to love them. The Torah is saying that is who you have a mitzvah to love, right? By the way, when I'm teaching, I always like to throw in asking people questions or trivia, just like keep it. So whenever I talk about this, I say, there's 3 mitzvahs in the Torah that command us to love, right? So there is v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself. What are the other 2 mitzvot that the Torah says? Love Hashem, very good. Love God. And there's a third one. Very good. Love the convert. By the way, in more beginner groups, no one ever gets that one, so it's a great stump, they all go around asking different things, and it's very good. It's a good discussion one to have in your pocket to throw out to people if you're talking about this topic. But so it's interesting, when you think about what the Torah is telling us, we believe the Torah can't command us to do something that we're not able to do, or that's not in our control. Right? So by definition, when the Torah is telling us as a commandment to love, you know what it's telling us? Well, that's the definition, but what that means is it's telling you can control who you love. Right? Imagine going to, I can tell you, I've spent a lot of time with my driving with my kids in the back seat, okay? If I turned around to my 11-year-old and said, you better love your sister, right? He'd say, oh, it's impossible. Right? It's possible, right? But the Torah is saying no, you can't, right? You can't control who you love. And by the way, it's also interesting, like romantic love. So the secular way of looking at romantic love is also very different than Jewish love. How does romantic love work in the secular world?
Infatuation.
Yeah, that's people fall in love. They just fall in love, right? You guys, the Cupid, the angel with the with the bow and arrow, 2 people sitting under the tree. And this angel shows up and shoots them, and now they're in love. And then a couple years later, the guy's at work late at night with his secretary, and Cupid shows up again and shoots him, and now he's in love with someone else, right? It's not his fault. Judaism says, no, you can control who you love. And by the way, on a deeper level, you can control your emotions. Love is maybe the deepest emotion, but it's telling us that we are able to control our emotions if we understand love, hatred, whatever it might be, jealousy. The Torah commands us in all these things, either to love, not to hate, right? So it's so interesting when many people have this sense of no, I'm not in control of this. This just happens to me. It just comes to me, right? Now, it's true. Some people have less control of their emotions, and they're more emotional, right? And so they get more angry, they get more upset, whatever. That is true. People are just as some people are more naturally spiritual. And some people are more naturally giving, right? We're all born in different ways, but the Torah is saying this is something you can control. And so I find this to be a very, very powerful idea that people say, oh, wow. Meaning I'm actually responsible for my emotions. I'm responsible for my love. And the Torah is saying, as long as we focus on the positive of other people, we can come to love them. Now, most people will say, but wait a minute, right? So what does that mean? We're supposed to ignore all the bad, right? This person's a mass murderer and you're telling me I'm supposed to love him, right? It is interesting, right? You know, it's like that person on like death row and his mother's like, oh, but he was such a nice little boy, you know, like, so how is his mother loving the mass murderer?
He's seeing only the good points.
Because she sees the good in him. Because there is some good in him, right?
Otherwise, why would we have seen it?
But she can see it, right? So there is a good in every person. Now, does it mean that we're supposed to ignore the bad? No, we're not necessarily supposed to ignore the bad, but if we see the good, we can understand, okay, no person's perfect, right? Doesn't mean that I have to marry this person. Doesn't mean that I have to be their best friend. Doesn't mean I have to invite them to move in and be my roommate, right? Of course, there's certain people that we are attracted to more, either romantically or even as friends, right? And those are the people that we can be close with. But every person we can go and put in the effort to try to see the positive, and it creates that positive emotion that we can connect with them. And absolutely, we're not supposed to just ignore the bad, right? The Torah gives us many laws as far as understanding, right? That we're not supposed to do that. Okay, so that's number 8. Love and relationships and understanding that we can control who we love and what the definition of love is. I find that's very powerful, people. Okay, number 9. And this, I'm sorry, remind me your name?
Gilad.
Gilad. Okay, Gilad, you said it before, and I foreshadowed that this was going to be the next one, which is that I find that so many Jews, and I was going to say not religious Jews, but this probably also applies to religious Jews, okay, like as all these things do, feel like they are not worthy to be religious, to have a relationship with God, right? Especially for so many secular Jews. Like I've had so many times where people say, oh, you know, I'm like a Reformed Jew, I'm not religious, right? So what does that mean? You know, they already like stamped themselves with a specific definition of like, oh no, those are the religious people and that's not me. Why? Because they see themselves, okay, some people it just might be not something that they're interested in. But so often people see, like, I don't know, have you ever heard like someone call themselves a bad Jew? I'm a bad Jew, right? And people use it as like almost like a badge of honor. But I usually find when they're doing that, they're usually doing it as a defense mechanism, you know, because like they see like, okay, I just don't do any of that stuff, and so I guess I'm a bad Jew, right? And this is a big, a huge obstacle for people. By the way, this is in general. Often people define themselves and put themselves in a box. I had a friend before we made Aliyah in New Jersey. So the guy where I lived in New Jersey, and this guy was the most talented person in the community. Okay, he was like a Baal Tefillah. He led all the prayers. He was unbelievable, but he was just a leader. He was an athlete. Everyone followed him. I mean, he was just like one of those nicest, kindest people. And I remember one time, so I would speak and teach or whatever, and he came up to me one time and he said, Rabbi, oh, it's amazing, I could never do that. And I said, what do you mean you can never do that? He's like, I couldn't get up and speak. And I said, of course you can. Like, you're smart, you're eloquent, people that'll listen to you. Like, and it stunned him for a second, because I think he, in his mind, thought like, I'm not the rabbi, I couldn't do that, right? And I was like, he thought I was gonna say, oh yeah, thank you very much. I was like, no, you can do it. Why can't you do it, right? And so we often sometimes put ourselves in a box and we limit ourselves into that box. So what's number 9? Number 9 is to understand, right, that we can change. People can change. This is a central core idea of Judaism called tshuva, right? Many people have not heard of this idea, but this idea that we are not inherently bad, we are inherently good, right? But we make mistakes. Right, so Rabbi Weinberg used to always say that the term sin in Hebrew, chet, right? So in modern Hebrew, chet means to make a mistake. It's like to miss the mark. If you're shooting an arrow and you miss the arrow, right? It's the same root. It's to miss. You miss the target, right? It's the same term. So he would say when we make a mistake, and by the way, the Talmud says it. The Talmud says that a person doesn't sin unless a moment of, it's called, they quote a ruach shtus, right? A moment of insanity overcomes a person. Because how could it be if I know there's a Kadosh Baruch Hu, I know there's the Almighty in the world, and I know He loves me, I know He gives me this Torah to live the most meaningful, pleasurable, spiritual life, right? How could I possibly not follow it? Because I go crazy. My body, right, tricks me. It gets me to do things that I don't really want to do, right? That's what the Talmud says. A person doesn't sin unless they're overcome by a moment of a ruach shtus, or shtut. What do you call it? What do you guys call it?
Yes.
Thank you. It's craziness. We go crazy, right? And we're all crazy. We all go crazy, right? There's I believe it's a medrash that says that there was a king, and his advisor came to the king. He said, I have really bad news, right? The entire crop that we have for this year, people who are starting to eat it are going crazy. Oh, yeah. You heard this before?
Yeah,
right?
just recently.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Everyone is going crazy. He said, but what are we going to do? If we don't eat the crop, we're all going to starve, right? So we have to eat it, but we're all going to go crazy. So the king says, I have a great idea. This is what we're going to do. You and I, we're going to put a mark on our forehead. Why? Because every time we see each other, we'll be crazy, but at least we'll know we're crazy, right? Right? Because everyone's going to go crazy, but at least we know we're crazy, right? So what's the idea? We all go crazy. We all do silly things. We all give in to our body, but at least we're aware that sometimes we go crazy, right? And we make bad mistakes. But the difference between seeing it as I sin, I'm a bad Jew, right? I'm disappointing to God, I'm disappointing myself, I know I should be doing so much more, I know I could be accomplishing so much more, as opposed to, I make mistakes. I have a body, it's pretty powerful, it overcomes me, I go crazy once in a while, but that's not me. That's not what I really want. I want to do better, I want to grow, I want to do more. That's a fundamental different way of looking at life. And I find for so many people, it gives them the invitation, right, to explore their Judaism. Because that block of, like I said in the beginning, that box they put themselves in of like, this is not for me because I'm a bad Jew. No, you're not a bad Jew. Okay, you haven't known, you didn't know, you didn't have a chance to learn, or even if you did know, okay, so you made a mistake. What are you going to do now, right? We all do that. We all fall short. We all make mistakes. What are we going to do now? That's the only question that's productive to ask, right? Is what do I do, right? And we all do it. I have it, I'll go through the day, like, I wasted so much time. I had this to do. I had that to do. I had to prepare this class. I wanted to learn. I wanted to do this, and I didn't do it. So I can get down on myself. And I can say, wow, what a lousy person I am. I'm totally lazy. Or I can say, okay, you know what? Today I didn't do as much as I want to do. But what about tomorrow? Tomorrow I'm going to try to do better, right? And it's so much healthier, right? Besides, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a sociologist. I have no idea. But it seems to me it's a much healthier way for people to live. But what I do know is, like I said, it gives people an invitation to explore their Judaism. Yeah? Make sense?
Makes sense.
Questions? Okay. So drum roll, please. We are on the last one, number 10. Okay? And hopefully you guys have heard this one, because it's not only one of the core ideas of Rabbi Weinberg, it's also part of it. Have you guys ever heard of the class, The 4 Misconceptions of Judaism?
No.
Really?
It's not one of the classes that they're teaching us to give.
It might be. I don't know if anyone's including it. The 4 Misconceptions of Judaism is also one of the classic Aish classes. I know Rev Gab teaches it all the time. I hear him teach it. So they're all sort of incorporated in the things I said. For example, one of the misconceptions people have is that Judaism takes the fun out of life, right? So we talked about, really, Judaism believes it's about pleasure. Question is, are you gonna settle for lower pleasure, or are you gonna go for better pleasure, right? So that's number one. Another is that they say Judaism is the opiate of the masses. Have you ever heard that before, right? Which means
That's Marx.
Yeah, right. He wasn't saying about Judaism, he was saying about religion in general. But people apply it, that Judaism means, right, you just become blind faith, you just, follow, you don't think for yourself, right? Where Judaism says, no, you have to, like we said before, you have to think, you have to look at the evidence, right? You have to try to examine it yourself, right? That's another part of it. Another, I think one of the misconceptions, which we didn't really get into so much, is that Orthodox Jews are judgmental, right? Right? And so that's a whole other thing, talking about how Judaism, we say we don't know whose blood is redder, we don't know who's more a better Jew, whatever it is, which I guess is a little bit what we were just talking about. But the fourth one, and this was really one of the most classic ones, is that Judaism is not all or nothing. Judaism is not all or nothing, right? And this one I also find is such a big thing because, we were talking about before, like, I'm teaching someone something and how do I get, for so many people, I've seen this a lot, when people start to like get into Judaism a little bit more and they learn and it's inspiring and it's interesting, but what do they think in the back of their heads? I'm going to become like these guys. I'm gonna walk around wearing a white shirt and have a beard, and I'm not gonna be able to talk to my parents, and I'm not gonna be able to shake hands with a girl, and I'm not gonna be able to eat my favorite pepperoni pizza. And, okay, forget it. I'm out of here, right? Because they're thinking so many steps ahead of what could be, right? I remember for myself when I first started getting a little bit more and like saw like, okay, there's davening in the morning. I remember it hit me like, wait a minute, for the rest of my life, I'm gonna have to get up in the morning and go daven, like this is crazy. Like no way I'm committing to that, like, but what was I like? Then I hit me like, I'm not committing to anything. Like if I don't want to go tomorrow, I won't go tomorrow. Like if in 2 years and I don't want to go, I won't. Like it's crazy, but that's how we think. We look at like what potentially is going to happen and we psych ourselves out. So Judaism, we say it's not all or nothing. The best analogy that, and I think this is probably, you can find this somewhere in Chazal, but I don't know exactly where, is the idea, right, that every mitzvah is a diamond, right? I remember when I was a kid, I don't know if anybody ever saw this before, there was a TV show, it was a game show, and someone who was like the contestant in the game show had like 60 seconds to go into like a toy store or some sort of store, and they could grab whatever they wanted off the shelf and put it into their shopping cart, and whatever they got in that 60 seconds, they would be able to keep, right? It was like a huge store, and you had to like go running, right? So imagine you got that. That was amazing, right? And someone was that contestant. They said, you know what? I can't get everything in the store, so forget it. I'm not going to do it. Like, you idiot, you got 60 seconds to take whatever you want. Grab whatever you can, right? So that's Judaism. Those are mitzvot, right? Mitzvah, every mitzvah is a connection with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Every mitzvah is an opportunity to grow spiritually, to come closer. No person can do them all. Right? We all fall short, right? We'd be angels if we could do them all, right? So the question is, right, grab whatever you can. Now the truth is, you have to be, you have a question?
Yeah, maybe you were about to address it, but I was just going to say that, like, idealistically, Judaism is all or nothing. But in practicality, because we're human beings and no one's perfect anyways, it's not, because obviously we can't do it all.
Correct.
But like in an ideal realm, when it's okay, well, if it's the truth, then like, yes, I should probably do it all because it's the best thing for me.
You probably should, but we're like you said, we're human beings, so don't. Yeah. So the way that you have to be careful with this a little bit. This is maybe what you're pointing out, and you have to. And I'm not saying, for most people, I think they don't necessarily, they're not aware of the subtleties, but you have to be careful because you're right. Judaism, we don't believe that just pick and choose a few mitzvot and the rest you don't have to do, right? I mean. That's called Reform Judaism, basically, right? It's true. But that's what they'll say. They don't believe that it's divine. You could choose what you find meaningful, and right, we don't believe in that, right? We do believe they're all binding, right? And so you have to be careful that you don't say, just it's fine, pick whatever you want and don't do it. But if we're giving over the message of right now, do what's meaningful to you. Pick a mitzvah that's meaningful to you, and don't worry about what the next steps are. That's amazing, right? Because you're not telling them they don't have to do it. They're not obligated to do it. You're saying it's not for right now. Like with anyone, right? If a guy walked in here, sat in a class with, Rav Dov Bear, and then was like, okay, I'm in, I'm keeping Shabbat, I'm putting on tefillah, you'd be like, whoa, because we know it's probably not going to last. It's not healthy, right? That there has to be a natural growth. So it's not that you're telling him never do it. Right? You're saying, okay, like slow down. So it's the same thing here. You're saying to someone, right? Grab what you can and don't let the rest, scare you.
Doesn't Chazal say this in the Gemara somewhere? Like, you grabbed everything and now everything fell out.
Right.
Of
So
your
that's tefasta meruva lo tefasta.
Right.
If you grab too much, you're gonna grab nothing. Exactly. Tefasta meruba lo tefasta. Right. Exactly.
And I guess we still do believe that if somebody's doing something, they go from doing nothing to now just doing something.
Of course.
That's amazing.
Of
That's
course.
much better than not. Yeah, okay, you want to now talk.
Yeah.
Okay, there's other stuff to be
Yeah.
doing, but
Of course.
it's not all or nothing in terms of
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
still
of
better
course.
to be
Of
doing
course.
one
The
mitzvah than not.
Rambam talks about, when we get judged, measuring mitzvot against averos, like, so if you don't have, the more mitzvot you have, right, the more your balance is going to be better, right? Of course, for sure. That's part of growth, and that's part of, helping someone grow. So there's no doubt about it. Again, we're not telling people it's not binding. You're just saying, for right now, this is the best thing to do. And you see so often people, this is how everyone starts. Everyone starts by taking one thing and then another thing and another thing. So you're helping someone go on that path, and they're going to choose how much they want to do. But generally, you find most people at some point, it sort of clicks to them that it is a package deal, right? Eventually, you sort of get it. Like, wait a minute, if I want to do Shabbat, well, then I need to be in a community that's Shabbat, and all the people in the community are keeping kosher, and they're doing this and they're that, and that. Okay, so but you can do it at your own pace, and you sort of figure it out, right? But again, I like I said, I just remember specifically for me, it was davening, and you realize, later in life, okay, I stayed up late last night. It's not the end of the world if I miss davening tomorrow. Don't tell him I said that. Gil will kick me out, but it's okay. Once in a while, I don't make it to a minyan. It's you go step. You do what's it's life exactly. And so people psych themselves out that it's so much, right? So number 10 is Judaism is not all or nothing. You want to make sure people don't feel the pressure of, I'm going to become religious, or I'm going to have so many obligations and it's just too much for me. No. What do you find meaningful right now? Great. Grab onto that. Do it, right? Bring to fill whatever it is that feels good. You should do it, and that is how you can grow. So those are the 10. Okay, we have 2 more minutes. Any questions? Thoughts? Okay, amazing. So like I said, Rabbi Palatnik will be here tomorrow and Wednesday. He's going to be doing 2 more sessions. Or Dobir will be here on Tuesday. And then, like I said, we'll be picking another one for the second half, one of the other options in the afternoon. And amazing. I'm going to have a pen that I could borrow. Just quickly take attendance again, and we'll finish with that. Okay, just going to call out your name, let me know if you're here. Do I have to do something special here? Because this
it's you. The clear thing. Bring the clear. Here. Yeah, there you go.
Wait some hell, you guys, you need like a degree for this. Okay, Yossi Applebaum. Okay, Noah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Andrew.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Jesse Blander. Daniel.
Yes.
Clapper. Yeah. Josh Cohen. Dylan. Yeah. David. Esagoff. Not here today. Nathan Levy, Daniel Rader, Ari Zlotnick, Nathaniel Menor, no, Yoni Bloom, yeah, great. Aria Clear is not here. Benjamin, no, Benjamin is not here. Did I not count in? David, no. Did I get everyone? Did I miss anyone? Okay, yeah, remember your name?
Akiva Brown.
Akiva, right, okay.
Also,
Yeah, I had you on, but why are you not on here now? I thought I wrote you down last time, okay. I got you now.
And Gilad.
All right, Gilad. Right. Did I not call your name, Gilad?
No.
No, but you were here the last times, right?
I think I missed one.
Okay. Okay, amazing. Okay, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Rabbi Rossman starting in a couple minutes down at the base medrash.
What's up if I missed like 2 classes? Is that like a
Yeah,
problem?
no, as long as you're consistently coming, it's fine.
You don't tell them you miss classes.
It's not an attendance thing. It's just we want to know who's generally doing
Yeah,
it, so like we know
yeah,
who's
yeah.
involved and who's not
Yeah.
showing up, and because then at the end there's for everyone who does all 4, like the morning and the afternoon, both times are getting this incentive of like USB stick with all Rabbi Noah Weinberg's classes.
Whoa.
What?
Yeah. So,
Oh, I've been there.
What was claw number 8? Is there not 8? For some reason, I just want to know what
Yeah, I got you.
number
cool.
8.
I want that.
Wasn't it love and relationships?
Yes.
What was
Love. You can control who you love. And there's a mitzvah to love every Jew, which means that love doesn't just happen to us, it's something that we can control, and which means that we can control all of our emotions. Wow. Okay, guys, amazing.
Make sure you have your field. You told me you don't want to look like me either. Wait, sorry, I missed that.
It's still too late. I'll tell you.
This thing is so cool.
Sorry, Rabbi, I missed that. One more time about love and emotions.
So the idea is that the Torah says, "V'ahavta l'recha kamocha," you love your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
So how can the Torah command us to do something that we can't do? You know, I'm gonna tell you, you have to love your sister. Like, come on, like, right? Or that guy you want me to love, right? Yeah, the Torah is saying you can control you can control who you love. You can control your emotions, right? It doesn't just happen to you, and I'm just at the mercy of what happens when you know. You can control it, and that's what it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, my pleasure.